Welcome to TSIB Talks, where we share information on construction insurance and its possible effect on your business. Enjoy our latest episode.
Glenn and Roberta, welcome to the podcast. We're going to start things off now with just a quick introduction. So if you guys want to take a quick moment and introduce yourselves, that would be great.
Hi, this is Glenn Pine. I've been with TSIB now for 17 years. I am the Director of Public Entities, and I'm happy to be here.
And I am Roberta Blumenthal. I am the Claims Manager at TSIB. I've been with the company for 2 years, but I have 32 years experience in claims in the insurance industry.
Well, thank you both for being here. My first question is, what is an insurance claim?
According to IRMI, the International Risk Management Institute, which is the premier insurance reference and insurance education resource, a claim is defined as, when used in reference to insurance, may be a demand by an individual or corporation to recover under a policy of insurance for a loss that may come within that policy.
So what that means is you've got different types of coverages. You have a third-party claim, which is something that you get sued by somebody else for something that you do, or you have a property claim, which is a first-party claim, which is to get paid back for damage to something that you own. So there's actually two kinds of claims. One is for something that you do, and the other is for something that you own. And the idea of insurance is you're paying a premium up front to transfer the risk to another company to step in and pay you back for a situation that may happen in your daily life.
You have to remember that insurance policy is a contract, a legal document enforceable under the law. It's an agreement between two parties on something that creates mutual obligations. For one, the main obligation for the insured is to pay the premium, and the insurance company's main obligation is that they will respond by providing coverage or indemnification for a covered loss. Indemnification, meaning to make whole, is to put the client in the same financial position before the loss. Kinds of claims are as varied as the types of insurance policies that exist: property, auto, workers' comp, GL, crime, builder's risk, just to name a few.
But Roberta, would you say that you would file a claim for something that maybe you could just afford to fix on your own?
That would be the type of thing that you might want to call your insurance broker to discuss.
Okay, so in other words, if I can't afford it, obviously I'm going to put in a claim because it's too much for me to pay out of my pocket. But if I do put in the claim, are you saying that there might be some kind of repercussion on the back end for my next policy year?
Insurance companies generally look at frequency and severity when they're looking to analyze whether a client is profitable or not. So putting in one claim is not going to jeopardize an insurance renewal.
I think a lot of people feel that way. They don't want to file a claim because they think they're just going to pay it back in increased premiums over the years.
You know, insurance is a really unique product. Often you're forced to buy it, such as auto insurance. Who buys it? Nobody wants to use it once they have it. And when they have to use it, they don't necessarily know what it covers. So the best recommendation, again, that I can make is to call your broker and discuss what your situation is and allow them to help you make that decision as to whether or not a claim is worth filing with their insurance company.
Makes sense, but how do I know if my claim will be covered?
I think understanding what your policy says is a very important aspect to having an insurance policy, and it really depends on what type of policy you have. I wouldn't expect people to really understand their homeowners or their personal auto policies, because that's really not what consumers do. But in business, if you're buying business insurance, it's very important to understand. It's almost a main tenet of your risk management program. Understanding what you can and cannot do, how to get reimbursed for claims, and again, you have to differentiate. Is it a claim on something that you own? What's interesting about insurance policies is you have to understand that everything is covered except if it's excluded. So understanding what the exclusions are is important to understanding how and if a claim is covered.
And there's a lot of technical language involved in policies.
Right. So it is important to call a technically savvy broker like TSIP to help you work through the specific coverage in your policies. If you're really caught and you have to understand if it is covered, the best place to start would be to look in your insurance policy and actually read it.
While we highly encourage people to read their policies, the reality is it's doubtful that many people do. And we don't expect our clients at TSIP, we do not expect our clients to be knowledgeable and experienced in insurance claims. That's why there is a claims professional here, so that we can guide you and offer advice, give you information on the claim process.
I think that in your experience, Roberta, have you ever had a situation where on the surface a claim wasn't covered, but through your creativity and perhaps experience, you were able to convince the insurance company that it should in fact be covered?
Absolutely. One of the main functions of the claims professional at TSIB is client advocacy. We're here to intervene in a claim when you have questions, when you don't feel that it is going along well, when you don't feel that it's going to compensate you properly. We will come in, we will look at the policy, we will advocate for you, because we are the ones that know the policy in and out and how a claim will respond under that policy.
Now, if I don't know all the information about my current loss, should I wait to file my claim or?
No, you should be calling your broker. The claims professional will be able to guide you as to whether or not it's something that may be covered, something that will be covered, or something that we hope would be covered and we feel that it's worthwhile to put the claim in with the insurance company. There are all different kinds of policies that have different reporting requirements, so we caution against holding off on filing a claim. Our belief is that the sooner a claim is reported, the better outcome will result.
It's also important to make sure that you record or take pictures of situations if it's appropriate. You really have to make sure that you memorialize the situation as it stands, because in effect that becomes evidence to support your claim. That's very important as well.
Absolutely. And in certain instances, years down the road, a claim could come in, and by that point, the situation may be different. Employees are no longer available to be interviewed. Equipment in question has disappeared, and you're unable to provide much information to the insurance company at that late point. It's a very strong reason for early reporting.
What about in an emergency? How would someone go about reporting an emergency claim?
Most of the insurance companies have a 24-hour reporting line. It's usually on the first page, maybe second page of the policy. It's certainly something you might want to look at and have in advance, because in a crisis you may not be able to locate your policy. So it's important to note that number for if you have a situation that is an emergency in the middle of the night.
Yeah, well, I think that's definitely great to know. Moving on, we're going to shift a little bit here to how would you handle a workers' compensation claim?
Workers' compensation insurance is unique in that each state governs its own workers' comp system. There are different forms, there are variations on the benefits allowed per state, such as the amount of lost wage benefits may vary from state to state. The key with a workers' comp claim is to ask what you need to do before you ever have a loss. Your employee is entitled to emergency treatment. There's many benefits that they're entitled to. The key is to report the claim as early as possible. It's statistically proven that workers' comp claims, the earlier they are reported, the less they cost. And as I've said before, you can call your broker and talk about it.
Yeah, it's very important to make sure that the injured worker feels like they're being taken care of, because the worst thing that could happen to you as the insured is that they feel like they need to hire an attorney. And once that happens, then the claim could skyrocket from there. And this is all very important to manage your workers' comp claims, because with workers' comp, there's something called an experience modification, which is a very complicated calculation based off of the claims payments that are made versus the premiums that are paid. And there's a lot of statistical mumbo jumbo in there that spits out a number that actually modifies your premium. So if you're doing better than the average company in your industry category, you could actually get essentially it's a discount off of your premium. If you're doing worse, you'll get debited. So it's very important to make sure that your losses remain low so that your experience modification can stay under 1 and you can get that discount.
Engaging with your employee, making sure that they're okay, asking if they have any concerns, getting this claim reported so the employee is not losing wages in the time that he's out, that he's getting the appropriate medical treatment without barriers and disruptions is critical to controlling the claims cost. And that's something that every employer should be actively involved in.
And of course, getting them back to work as soon as possible.
Always the goal.
Always the goal. Because that, even though you might be still paying medical on them, you're no longer paying wages through workers' comp.
That is correct.
What about some of the best practices for reporting a claim on a construction project? Like, let's say you have an employee that's injured.
Well, when there's a claim on a construction site, evidence is very important to preserve. Obviously, the most important thing is to make sure that everybody and anybody nearby is safe, and the situation that caused the injury, if it's an injury or the damage, is minimized so that people can operate in and around the area. Call 911 immediately. You're never wrong in a claim to call 911. That's the most important thing, is to make sure that lives are safe. The property damage doesn't get worse, cause more injury, cause more damage. Again, common sense rules here, but in the aftermath, taking statements from witnesses, taking pictures, understanding exactly what happened, understanding if the injured worker was impaired in any way. Was it after lunch, after a 3-martini lunch? Those are all things that you need to ask. It's really getting to the bottom of it, because at the end of the day, hopefully the injured worker will heal and they'll be fine. But you will be sitting in a courtroom or across from an attorney trying to work out a settlement. And the more information that you have to show that you did nothing wrong as the insured will benefit you in the end.
From a workers' comp perspective, it can vary greatly on a construction site. For example, some companies and some insurance companies will allow a nurse facility or a medical facility to do triage on site or they may have a phone call for them to triage, direct you to an urgent care center, more specialized medical facility. Certainly, all of them would require a report to be made.
That's interesting. And I think that can kind of lead us into one of our last questions here. It's going to be a little bit TSIB focused. So what are TSIB's current services and how can they help you?
Claim service is what differentiates brokers. When you need that assistant the most, a company like TSIB has claims professionals who can guide you through that entire process. So, like I said, when I said call your broker, when it comes to a claim, call your claim professional. So that is really what differentiates TSIB from the rest of the pack. TSIB's claim services include assisting and guiding you in your claim. We'll help you when you call us on how to file a claim, what policy or policies we may want to file it under. We will identify any issues with coverage so you're aware of any challenges up front. We'll advocate for a proper settlement and all coverages to apply. We'll review your litigation. If you are sued, we're looking for risk transfer opportunities to pass the claim on to somebody else through fault, through a contract, through whatever manner is possible. Additionally, Depending upon the size of the client and their needs, we can assist with things such as TPA selection, performing periodic claim reviews, and full litigation management, among many other things.
Awesome. So I think that wraps up this episode of the podcast. I want to thank you guys both for being on today. I know I learned a lot, and I'm sure all of our listeners will too. So yeah, thanks again.
Thanks for having us. This was fun.
It's been a ball.
Thanks for listening to this episode of TSIB Talks. If you like this content, be sure to follow for new episodes. Until next time.